did it to me again.
Well, it happened. I did it too. See, because you were going back, and it's weird. Women usually do that more. I guess us we do it in a men when we're men, y el otro güey está como inseguro de sus cosas. Como que tenemos un poco más de compasión por el otro güey. We don't really, our instinct is not to take advantage of it. Cuando viene un güey and he acts insecure, and you know this are acting up, like the little boy syndrome, the little man syndrome, right? I'm not saying that women take advantage of it, but it makes women react another way, and I think it's because that it's like giving somebody. I don't want to say women are like little men, but it's like that syndrome, that like when they see you like that, they don't have respect for you anymore. So then they step all over you. Subconsciously, I think. I don't think that. I'm not saying that they're mean. Subconsciously, something in them makes them step all over you. As opposed to men, when you see a woman like that, you kind of want to lift them up.
Compassion.
Yeah, compassion.
I think it's like that saying that they say, when you see something in a person that just enrages you or bugs you, it's because you're seeing something about yourself that reminds you of yourself. It's like the mirror. So when women see that in a man being weak, not that women are weak, but sometimes they may feel weak, and because they may feel weak, that's the thing that they're trying to overcome. They want a man that's going to help them feel strong, that's going to help them in their weakness. So when they see a man that's weak, or they perceive to be weak, then it's scary because that's exactly what they're trying to get away from. They want someone that's going to make them strong, that's going to help them when they do their thing. Not someone that's just as weak and struggling with the same stuff. They feel that they get scared that they're going to both get lost. That's one of the thoughts that could run through, and I think that for everybody, we may think a little bit differently, but when we put ourselves in that mindset, we can see that, and so I think that's why when women see a man, being emotionally unstable, women are more emotional than men. Where we normally are more logical, we do feel more confident because of our logic keeps us in this realm of confidence because logic makes sense to us. We speak in logic. When we talk to another man, we speak in logic. We understand each other.
Right.
Okay, get it. But women speak more in emotional, and the emotions can get moved, rattled. You can produce the wrong emotions, even though that the circumstances don't really call for it. When you're emotional, and men won't go into that emotional state because they have logic that protects them. Why am I gonna act? Why am I gonna feel that way if I know that this is really what's happening? There's no reason for me to act like that. It's silly. They block it, let it go. They cast it out. But women, it's harder for them to deal with the emotions. So that's the difference. And
yeah, definitely. What I've learned lately, the past 2 weeks, Okay, so let me start with this. Before, I met people. I've had a few relationships, and when I was younger, I just didn't care. I think mostly because of the fact that I just didn't want to get involved and be unsure. Part of it was also that, oh, I think I'm gonna do better, and this is not the one that I want to be with. So when it came down to the way that they would speak or the way that they would think, I'll look at it, but I'll just put it in the back of my mind. Never really cared for it too much until I got into a relationship again, and now all those thoughts and it's funny so the reason why I bring that up is because before, when I didn't really care, when I didn't pay too much attention to their don't want to say feelings, but it's because they think with feelings, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So when I didn't pay too much attention to it, it seemed like they would just let it out, come down. I wouldn't engage with them. That's what I'm trying to say. I wouldn't engage with them and try to make sense out of things. I'd just be like, all right, okay, and that would be just fine, tranquilitas later on. Then I got in a relationship and I felt like what 2 plus 2 is 4, and it felt like it was like 8, sometimes 10, sometimes 11 to them. It didn't make sense, so I would get caught with their so I was like, common sense doesn't exist anymore, and I would just get caught on trying to make sense with them and argue their points and with facts and be like, no, this is not the way it works, and
Logic, right?
and then little by little it got into discussion, then yelling, then throwing things on each other's faces, for no reason, and then continuing with the same freaking thing, like it'll just go to some type of problem, and then with the same thing.
It's still the same thing. Like it's just different problems, but still the same problem.
Yeah.
Which is, they're thinking emotionally and you're thinking logically, and the two cannot. That's why when you mention the masculine indifference, meaning we're masculine, we're men, we think with our logic, but our indifference is we just don't allow their emotional state to become our emotional state just because they feel justified in it. We're like, no, our logic still tells me there's no reason to be feeling that way, and therefore I'm not going to go there. But I'm going to let you stay there, and I'm going to stay here, anchored, because that will go away, because you understand logic, you understand that their emotional state will go away, and once the emotion changes, then they're back to that sound mind. So you don't need to get involved with the chaos that's going on, because the more you try to logically explain, you're just speaking a language that doesn't speak to their emotion. Now, if we get to good where we can start speaking the emotion, because we're using logic to understand that logic tells us they're emotionally, therefore we need to speak to them in an emotional sense, that where we talk to their emotions, then we're speaking their language, and we can bring them out of those negative emotions into this normal sound-minded emotion, but we have to speak to the emotion. And that's the part, an example.
I'm not sure if that's how it goes.
All right.
I'm not sure that's how it goes.
You have more experiences.
At the same time, I was, as you know, within the past 2 years, maybe more, 3-4 years, I've been more involved with my mother, my sister, after my dad's passing, and dealing with more emotions and so on and so forth. So I was dealing with that in a relationship, and then coming home and dealing with another monster. That's really what it felt like. And little by little, I was getting, I even told you I was getting, because we're going back to getting bitter, right? How are you talking about forgiveness? I was getting bitter, and I was getting upset that I didn't even want to see him, but I had to see him. Both, relationship-wise and my family-wise. And I remember even saying, all you guys are the same. So I remember thinking, damn, I'm sounding like a woman. Because women say that, but all men are the same, but I'm like, all you women are the same. You just can't talk, can't have a conversation, because feelings come into place, people get bothered, and then there goes that. Like that beep, you're just not listening anymore.
You can't hear, you're just hearing that.
You're not listening anymore, and I was getting bitter. I even told you, remember? Man, I think I'm sounding bitter, remember? And then, and then you said that, and then, here's another thing that's crazy. I did shrooms, right? With my partner, and we had a good time and everything. Then we started talking, and she brought something up, and she said, "But you do this, but you." Because I told her, I'm like, sometimes you act like a man.
Masculine.
Sometimes you act masculine, and I just want to find out what is it that brings out this person in you where you get very like you act masculine when you wanna you bring this other person that's in there when you wanna fight with me and you get really like confrontational and you act like a dude with me. And I had told her that a bunch of times. So she brought that up. She goes, you call me a man and this and that, and she's like, you're, and I'm like, okay. And then I just took quiet. I don't know, I just took quiet. And then I let her just, and I go, yeah, it's weird. Look, for example, it's gotten to a point where we argue in these situations where we disrespect each other. So I never had any men be like, bitch. Call that has ever called me a bitch. I don't consider myself that. I've always been very, well, I'm just a man, and I never the type that runs away from anything. I think that's what's considered a bitch, right?
Yeah, way little bitches. That's
right.
Sure.
So when a woman does that, is they'll be like, you got a little, they just say stupid things, little dick, or like, and so I brought it up, and it's never really bothered me, because I mean she's just mad.
Emotion.
Then I go, remember those couple of times when you said, when you're like, you're a bitch, and I go, but I'm not a bitch, and she goes, and I go, why don't I bring that up to you?
Right.
I go, why don't I bring that up to you?
Right.
You're saying the same thing as what I'm saying. I'm like, am I a bitch? She goes, no, you're not, baby. And then I go, you just answer your own question, You just answer your own thing. And because she was calm, she wasn't with her feelings, bro. She hugged me and she cried. She's the one that brought up the problem, and then she went, and just by me telling her, look, this is the same thing that you do, and then I gotta deal with this. I gotta deal with like your little circle things, like where you're like, and then to get you to this point, I'm like, look, right now it took minutes to get you to this point. Usually doesn't, you didn't even get to this point. Not even get to this point at all.
Right.
The
emotions take over.
Yeah. And then when you said you showed me that video of that guy of the emotions where like the guy was talking about their emotions is like a river, and then pretend you're like a lifeguard, and then
lifeline.
You don't throw yourself in the river. You throw a rope with a lifeline to help them out. You don't throw yourself in the river because you'll be dragged.
Otherwise, you're in the chaos.
And then I did that, bro, and I was just calm, and like lately, I promise you, even the days are brighter, and I've been doing that with my family as well. And it's so much peace because now it's like I was getting bitter because I was upset. I wasn't forgiving myself. Because I think everybody has, I think everybody, right? But before I wasn't thinking like, when your father passes away, I think for a man, you have a lot of, well, I guess with anything, but as a man with your father, it's more like regret that you had inside of things that you did when you were a kid, things that you did against your father. I'm pretty sure that's with everybody, but I think that the connection with the man and the dad is different because that's your father, and it's your men. I don't know if the mother and daughter are the same thing, but as a man, all these responsibilities and all these things, all this pressure of being a man and taking care of things and relating yourself to how your father was, and noticing all these other things. So then, I was bitter with my family because I'm like, what is it? I mean, I would explain things to them, like what it is. They'll ask me again. They'll ask me again, and the complete opposite. And then that, if you think that's the worst part, then they'll come back and be mad about it. Certain things, like mad about the same things that they were told to do and how to do them, and they go and mess up, and then now it's my fault. So you get upset now? No, it's just
Blame.
I just laugh. I think it's whatever. You know, I was just thinking these things are ridiculous. But 100%, when you have this anger that you keep inside and you don't forgive, when you say forgive yourself, because you do have to forgive yourself. You do have to be like, all right, cool. You know what? Okay, that was yesterday.
Right.
Today is a new day,
Right.
and today I'm gonna be better because if I continue like this, I'm just making it worse and continue being what I feel bad about.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so I promise you, the last 2 weeks have been better. I got more cars. I got better deals as well with
Work comes
with
better.
work. Work
Yeah,
was better.
everything is better.
I feel
Yeah.
more calm.
Yeah.
You know.
It's more again when you forgive. It's like you start reaping the benefits of heaven already. The peace, the joy, the forgiveness. And it's a forgiveness right there, dude. If you when you mention your dad, the thing that came to my mind, it's like a time for us to kind of reevaluate, reassess, like everything that man taught us, and when we feel like we fell short from fulfilling what he was trying to tell us, all of a sudden the guilt, the shame hits us. That's where we begin to like the unforgiveness towards ourselves for not of doing that. But then it gets to a point where we can't be mad at ourselves. We can't beat ourselves up. Okay, we didn't learn. We didn't get it. Okay, what do I need to do now? That's all that matters. And the first thing I need to do now is forgive myself for doing that, because it is what it is. I didn't know whatever. I was immature. I was growing up. I was learning whatever it was. I didn't understand what I understand right now. And I wish I would have understood this. I wish I wouldn't. He wouldn't have to pass away for me to have realized this. But it is what it is. Now I have to do what he's wanted me to do for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I can forgive him. I have to start by forgiving myself for not doing it when he told me to. Or whatever. You're letting go of the shame, the beating yourself up that the enemy, the evil of this world tries to make us do. Anything that produces bad results is from evil. Because it's evil that's coming in. And you're pushing away the evil and saying enough is enough, no more of this evil, no more of this feeling bad about myself, no more about beating myself up, because then I bring bad to the world. I'm mean, I'm more bitter, I'm more angry to everybody, I'm mad at myself, and life sucks when it's like that. So you said it yourself, you said it came to a point where you had to forgive yourself so that you can let yourself let go of all those burdens and all that weight that you had on your shoulders that you weren't even meant to carry. So that now you can feel good about yourself again. So that now you can feel like, all right, re-energized and empowered to, okay, now let's do what I need to do, what I always wanted to set out to do, what he wanted me to do, and be okay with myself, have compassion towards myself. And that's the first step towards like being empowered to like get away from that hell or all those evil emotions that come to us. And yeah, you're experiencing it, you're seeing it. You from that place we can see clear what needs to be done, so that we can handle everything from a more empowered position. You mentioned that even now you speak to them differently, where you don't allow yourself to get involved anymore, so you don't allow those negative emotions to come into you anymore, and it helps them. It's like you mentioned, you're throwing out the lifeline to help them, but you're not jumping in the river with them,
Mm-hmm.
getting caught up in the chaos, and that helps them. That masculine indifference, dude. It's it's godsend, bro, when we heard it. Anyways, if we had to choose a topic for this podcast, I know we kind of went to two different places. What would you call the topic of this podcast based on what we just discussed?
Ah, fotos y recuerdos, güey, porque no, es just fotos de mi papá y recuerdos de mi papá. Y por los recuerdos andamos. No,
Fotos y recuerdos. Pictures and memories.
pictures.
Memories and pictures.
Yeah.
um,
We could call the podcast Fotos de Recuerdos.
why? Why fotos y recuerdos? Why pictures and.
Well, porque Selena lasted for like, we still talk about it. Podcast.
That's what I was thinking.
I want our podcast to last forever too. She's like it's been what, 25 years?
We just
27 years that she passed away?
I took my
She's
daughter
still
to
popping.
her birthday on a city walk, not city walk, Hollywood Highland, and they were playing the movie for, the people outdoors, so they were watching that movie.
It's unbelievable if you think about it. What other singer? I mean, she wasn't Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson, yeah, here and there, but like Selena's like bumping still everyone.
You know what's crazy?
I would bring her up.
That you bring her up because I was thinking about this when I was thinking about the podcast. You know how I mentioned, I think forgiveness goes way deeper because forgiveness goes to, I mentioned, when you won't forgive, hell starts now in this lifetime. And in the Bible it says, if you don't forgive, then I can't forgive you. The people that had near-death experiences, the ones that talk about having hellish experiences, a pattern that I've noticed in them is that they talk about that God told them the reason they were going there was because they did not forgive somebody for something. And so they're telling them so that when they come back, they're going to have a second chance to come back, but they need to forgive them so that they won't go to that place. I've heard pastors talking about that they were told that because they hadn't forgiven their wife. I heard a woman say that God told her because she needed to forgive her stepmother, and she talked about how she hated her because her stepmother was really evil to them and to her dad, and she believes the reason that her dad died early was because of her evilness in his life. Once she died, she loved her dad. It was the only good thing she had in her life, and she felt like she had taken her away from her, so she hated her. So she had to forgive her. I talked about how when I got divorced and I started hating my ex, I started becoming bitter. So I already started experiencing the effects of hell here on this earth. So I think about if forgiveness brings us to heaven, forgiveness already starts bringing heaven here on earth right now. When we forgive, we go into the emotions of joy, love, peace, sound mind, all those good feelings. But when we don't forgive, all the evil feelings, anger, hatred, like self-hate, all that bitterness comes out. So we start experiencing the effects of evil already in this lifetime. But it becomes permanent if we cross over without resolving those issues. Which would make sense why the prince of this world, which is the enemy, the evil one, would create so many things in the world to cause us to be in conflict that divides us rather than unites us, so that we can create more scenarios, more reason to have hatred. And the Bible talks about at the end of times, people's hearts would be cold because the enemy is creating so many things to cause us to fight each other, to hate each other, to create more unforgiveness. So that's why regardless of what happens, regardless of the offense, we have to forgive for our own saving, for our own freedom, for our own heart, for our own joy, for our own love, for our own peace. So going back to Selena, I was thinking, Selena got killed. The lady that killed her,
She's out.
You could see something.
She's out, right? Or
I don't know. But I was thinking, where did Selena go? Because I don't think she was all Jesus. But I think she went to heaven because that girl's joy, that girl's happiness showed that she had no unforgiveness in her heart. Even with this lady that maybe treated her bad or whatever, I don't think she held like hatred towards her. So I could say she was already having the fruits of being and being a person that forgives, that's not holding unforgiveness. And so I think when she passed away, she definitely went to heaven. I don't know this, right? But the other lady, you could already see in her face that she's had some bitterness in her life. You could, the pictures that they show of her, you could already see
Yeah, well,
that
she
there's,
did it because
you
of
know,
that.
yeah, because right.
Yeah,
So that
she was
she's got
jealous
that
and she
evil,
was
and that's what they
bitter
said,
and
right?
yeah,
And you can see it in her face.
it's like a chain. I understand completely now when my mother and my father used to say, if you're gonna marry somebody, you know, make sure with the family, there's a good family, that both parents were there. And I remember thinking very liberal when I was a kid, because when you're young and you want to go against everything,
Her parents tell
you feel like, yeah, you feel like you know more than them. You feel
Right.
like you're the king. You feel
Right.
like nothing's gonna ever. I remember thinking,
Yeah.
bro, I'm never gonna get sick. I'm never gonna get hurt. Like I'm just so strong and so
Mm-hmm.
stupid. and and you know, uh, so you think you're everything, and you think that nothing's ever gonna bother you. So um, you do as you wish. But however, the reason why they would tell you those things is because there's different. Everybody's in a different situation. Now, there's a lot of kids also that don't have both of their parents in their lives. They were raised by a mother, or just raised by a father. But the thing that they don't realize, because I also thought that I was very strong-minded, and people that would get a panic attack was because they're weak-minded. Till I got a panic attack, so it's stupid. But so what I'm getting at is everybody's different. There are some people that are gonna be already bitter because they probably didn't have a family member, maybe somebody died in their lifetime or so on and so forth. So I guess there's different situations. But what's going on nowadays with evil? It's they're going against the whole. They're going against family. They're trying to destroy families. You know, there's so. It's not just one thing. I mean, just the devil. If you go in, the movement of like transgender, the movement of gay people. Now, they can get married, but it's not a family. It's like
You can't create like a
can't
family
create.
naturally, like
You're not gonna
organically.
compare. It's let me use this analogy. You can't compare a Honda to a Hyundai. You know,
Not the same thing.
the Honda's gonna last you like 300,000 miles, and with low maintenance. The Hyundai is probably drives like a Honda, but a 200,000 mile Honda. And it'll break down within 100,000 miles. So I'm not saying that transgender couples are less, or it's not a family.
The human being is not
But
less.
it's not
or
like a real
more, right?
family where there's a dad, there's a mom,
But the
there's a
order,
balance.
right,
There's
the
a balance.
balance,
The
the
balance
order.
is to support it.
Right.
You know.
So
So
go outside the balance. It is what it is.
so they're destroying families that way. They're destroying families with also like in our time, our parents, when they had issues, they worked through them. Now you have issues, you go find somebody else.
Right.
Just get a divorce, and now,
Right.
it's
And-
like, for example,
and people are incentivized to create a divorce.
incentivized to create a
Yeah.
divorce, because now it's like, okay, now it's like I'm gonna get money, I'm
Yeah.
gonna be free,
Uh-huh.
but they don't
And
realize
they
that
still have to pay me
that
for the rest.
out there's a bunch of them like that.
Yeah.
And now they're not trying to find nothing serious or nothing good.
Right.
All it is just mirrors,
Yeah.
They're mirrors. It's just what you think is that. And so then you have women complaining about, oh, it's so hard to find a man nowadays. It's so hard to do this. It's so hard to do that. Because now you have the mainstream media tells you, or they have this women thinking that they're going to find a man that makes $300,000 a year at least, that gives them everything, and so on and so forth. But the reality of it is that if you find a single man that makes really good money, that's probably only 1% of the country. And then if this men don't want to be with you because you're a gold digger, and maybe they want to be with a bunch of gold diggers like you, but you're just gonna get played. So it's like this little circle that you can't get away from. And then, but at the end of the day, what does that do? It takes away families
Right.
where there's gonna be a
Creates
father and
problems.
a son. You know, I don't have kids. I have my nephew, but I see a lot of things that little things that I do, like with one little thing that I do, like he copies it, like
He wants to
100%,
be like
just
you,
from
yeah.
one time that he sees,
Yeah,
and he copies it and he starts doing things that I do,
yeah.
you know, and. So then, therefore, you know, what if I wasn't there? You know, I know the father's not there, but if there wasn't a male figure there, what would he be acting like a girl?
Mm-hmm.
No, and then,
Yeah,
and then,
what would they have to look at to, yeah, because
right,
we all want to assimilate, we all want to, like, be like somebody that we see. We have to have goals, and if we don't have anything to go by, we have to grab to whatever is there.
but anyways,
Anyways,
I'm coming out right now. Sorry.
I would say definitely forgiveness and the emotions. You said pictures and memories. Well, pictures is like a photo. It's like a memory, and recuerdos memory. It's like memories. What memories do you want to hold on to? Do you want to hold on to the negative memories, or do you want to look at the negative things that have happened in your life and look at them from a different perspective? Like shine light into it so that you can turn those negative experiences into a positive experience and use the bad things that happen to you in your life, use them for good, for 10 times stronger good than the bad. And the way you do that is through forgiveness for yourself, forgiveness for the other people, forgiveness, allowing yourself to let go of the bad feelings. When we talk about women being emotional, feelings, men using logic. Well, this is both coming together. You were using the logic. When you forgive, you don't allow negativity to come into your life, and feelings. You're not allowing those negative feelings that create more bad feelings to run your life. That's what it is.
Yes.
There we go. Hope you guys enjoyed. Be blessed, my friends. In Jesus' name.
I'm coming out right now.